Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, because, we are not a homophobic channel, even though not all Oklahomans are homophobic. Anyway, I am here today. Welcome back to Britton's Hanging Hour. I'm here today with Alicia from Birdie and The Books. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
It's been a long one, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
same. I feel you.
Can I shoot straight with you? It's been a long one.
It's been a it's been a day.
Yeah, that's what we were saying like right
Yeah,
before
it's been
we
a
got
day.
on here. It's been a day.
It's been a day.
So, yeah, you run a YouTube channel called Birdie and The Books.
Yep.
Where you mostly live stream. I was kind of scrolling through your channel last night, and
Yeah, I mostly do interviews. Yeah, interviews
oh
and
wow,
long discussions.
I haven't read a lot of these. Let me see.
I'm I'm eclectic. Let me put it this way. I read a little bit of everything. That's why everybody's like, "Give us the elevator pitch of your channel." I'm like, I really can't because I read a little bit of everything. It's hard for me to just be like, ah, there's my channel.
So, I got to know you, or I got to know your channel anyway from Pim from Epic Tales because he's a friend of mine.
I love him. He's
Um,
he's one of my he's one of my favorites.
um,
Just in general in this community, he's one of the best.
yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, yeah. The other day we had a stream about Grimdark, and I'm like, "Hey, when do you want to do that?" And he's all like, oh, "This was like on Friday,"
Yeah,
and he was like, "How about Sunday?" And I'm like, "Oh, all right."
he's awesome like that.
I'm like, "Okay."
He's awesome.
Now, originally he wanted to do it on Saturday. I'm like, "Well, I might need a moment to like come up with some questions." He's like, "All right,
Yeah.
Sunday." I'm like, "Fine, like we'll
Yeah.
do that." Like, eh.
He's been co-hosting a series of interviews with me with the author P.L. Stewart.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I met him on Matt on Books' channel because I go on his Sunday pubs on
yeah.
Sundays, and he was on there one Sunday, and I learned he was a granddad. That was weird.
P.L.'s a lovely person. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, so you read do you read the Self Pub? That sounds really out of touch. I
No,
apologize.
you're fine. I read self pub. I read trad. I read a mixture of both. Leaning more towards self pub as I keep on going.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm really trying to get on the Self Pub train
Yeah.
myself. I'm actually about to start my friend Joe Burns' Wistful Ascending.
I
Hopefully
just got the
tonight after
audio.
this. Tonight after this episode is over.
I just got
But
the audio for that. So I'll be picking that up probably in May because I'm booked for April. Literally.
like just books or just like streams.
Um well, I'm co-hosting a readathon for April. The nostalgia readathon. So reading books that came out when we were all kids and rereading them and seeing if they hold up, like Goosebumps, all that kind of stuff. So April's always kind of busy for me, but I'm definitely picking that up, and I'm definitely picking up Wistful Ascending in May.
Well, it's also going to be a nice palate cleanser because I'm also going to be starting this freaking behemoth in soon. I don't know when I'm
Oh,
going to do
geez,
it, but I'm looking
I'm in
forward
the
to
middle
it.
of this one.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
That
You
one.
know he has a YouTube channel, right? I found it the other day, or I found
Does
it
he?
a few weeks ago, or either a few weeks ago or like 2 months ago.
I
Yeah,
didn't know he did.
yeah, he runs a booktube channel.
That's awesome. I'll have to do some deep diving.
Um, I've not read Ted Williams, though I know he was a bit of a touchstone for George R. R. Martin,
You can
and
definitely tell, and I mean that in like the best way possible. Like you can definitely tell. It's giving me very George R. R. Martin, Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings. Like
and
it's very that like comforting kind of thing.
a Song of Ice and Fire. That was a big formative experience for me.
Yeah, I read that later than most. I think I was in college, so I was like 20 when I read it. So like 2008.
So like so were you like watching the show and then you read the books and then you were like going to your friends, you're like, oh, check this out, this is great.
I watched the first season. I'm not gonna lie. Before and
Because
then
that's kind of how it started for me. I watched
yeah.
because it was at like season 4 by the time I started watching it. So
Same.
I'm like, I watched
Same.
the first season. I'm like, this is great. I went over to my friends. I'm like, dude, this is great. He's like, did you know there's books based on
I
those?
always knew they were out there. I just didn't know that it was connected for the longest time. I've always been a book person. Like I've always read books and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I've always been attracted to stories in general.
me too.
That might sound silly again, but
No, I have I did a lot of theater when I was in college, so it's kind of in the same wheelhouse.
I'm actually about to do a stream about Shakespeare in a couple weeks from now.
Oh, nice! I love
So
Shakespeare.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping
I
my
love
friend
Shakespeare.
Amanda will, because her health's been kind of, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping she can show up. But I know John Minton and I are going to be doing it, so looking forward to it. 'Cause he's a
I
big
have to
Shakespeare nut.
connect with John Minton because we're from where he lives is my home state. Is where I'm from.
Oh, you're
So
from North Carolina?
yeah, isn't he from Penn State? Doesn't no wait, I'm mixing someone up. Sorry, not enough caffeine
Oh,
today.
John Morrow teaches
Yes,
at
that's
Penn
it. Yeah,
State.
yeah, because that's where I'm from, like right outside Pennsylvania, like right
Oh,
outside
okay,
Pennsylvania.
yeah.
That's where I grew up.
I actually want to have him. I'm actually hoping to have him on my show at some point. I don't know when,
Yeah,
because
that would
he's
be
a
awesome.
freaking engineering teacher at Penn State. Go
Yeah.
Nittany Lions, I guess. But
and if you ever get to go there, there's a creamery on site, and it's the best ice cream you'll ever find if you're an ice cream person.
I'll have to take you on that. Hopefully, OU will play Penn State at some point.
I'm much more of a hockey fan myself, but that's just me.
Yeah, I've watched some hockey. I like the fights a lot.
Yeah,
I guess it's that male id. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
I also grew up in a family that everybody played hockey. I was the only one that didn't.
I guess all of us men, even like the shy, dorky ones, have that like male id somewhere deep inside.
Yeah, it's the truth though.
I mean,
But
I guess everyone has the id, but males are kind of
in different aspects.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read a little bit of everything. It's hard to pinpoint what my taste is per se. Like my taste is definitely changing. Like when I started BookTube, I technically started co-hosting a book club on a separate BookTube channel before I started my own.
Were you on like World Hoppers or something?
No, but recently, they had me on like a month ago for the first time.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah. But it's my friend Nicole who runs the channel who picked this book. She runs a virtual book club, and we kind of met through the pandemic, and we've become really good friends. And she's the one that kind of pushed me into getting and making my own channel. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to read widely because I feel it how do I put it? I feel it's much more fulfilling.
Yeah, like I can't just don't get me wrong, I love I love most genres. I will read most anything really.
I mean, certain genres appeal to me more than others for sure.
Right. That's everybody. Yeah.
But, I think reading a wide array can be a very meaningful experience. At least it has been in my experience.
I'm rereading a lot this year. That's why I'm doing a deep dive into Jane Austen because she's my favorite author and how I got into reading. I was a very weird child.
I'm the same way. I was really into like Dickens and H.G. Wells growing up.
Jane Austen, I was reading Jane Austen at 8, so I was a very weird child.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading the Bible when I was like 8. So there you go.
So yeah, but I feel like I missed a lot of like formative reading for like a lot of people in my age bracket. So that's why I co-host with friends on BookTube. The nostalgic readathon every April. This is our second year.
You know, the weird thing, I know the story of Pride and Prejudice, like,
Hmm.
because I saw the one with Keira Knightley in it, that
Okay,
adaptation. I don't know what the
that's a little bit different, but it's nothing. It's not bad. It's just
I don't know
condensed.
if the Austen stands are like, nah, it's blah. I've heard some
It's not
Austen
my favorite, but
I've heard
I still enjoy it.
I've heard some Austen fans get mad and say it's a bad adaptation, but I don't know. I
Yeah,
know the story. I've just never read the book. I've
I
wanted
enjoy
to.
it. Well, we're gonna start. It'll be April 24th on my channel. We're doing a discussion on Northanger Abbey. The reason I chose this one was it's technically her shortest, but it was the first she technically wrote, even though it was published after she passed away. She wrote it when she was like 17.
Oh wow!
So
Take that, Mary Shelley.
exactly. I know you look at this and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I'm a classics nerd.
I am too. I
I
actually
am
grew
such
up.
a classics nerd.
I actually grew up reading, like. Did you ever have those illustrated classics when you were a
Mhm.
kid?
Oh yeah.
I read a lot of those growing up. Like I read like Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I did that for a school project. Ended up loving it. I read like Oliver Twist, and originally it was because of the illustrations. But
Yeah.
then I started reading them, and I'm like, ooh, these stories are pretty cool too. So there you
At
go.
like 13, my dad gave me I didn't I didn't know it was abridged at the time, but he gave me the abridged Count of Monte Cristo. That's illustrated.
Mm.
I still own it, but I haven't read Monte Cristo in its entirety.
I had to read
I
that
didn't.
in I had to read that in high school. I have some not fond memories of. Well, it wasn't a bad book. It was just I had a bad experience reading it because
That's fair. School.
well, I had forgot I didn't know I had to read it over the summer, and then I had to
Oh,
play
you did the
catch up.
crunching. You did the crunch thing.
Yeah, it was a big
Yeah.
suck, and it's weird. It was kind of a lose-lose for me because it was actually nice being an AP. There weren't a bunch of idiot kids talking over each other every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the
It's
work
harder.
was harder, and I'm really lazy, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it.
I'm just, but I'm rereading. I'm trying to reread classics that I didn't like in high school because I'm older now, so a lot older now. But I'm older now, so I think a lot more of it will not go over my head as much. Like I want to reread The Bluest Eye. I had to read that at 13.
Isn't that Toni Morrison?
Mhm. Yep.
Oh, wanted to read Beloved from her. Beloved. I don't know.
Beloved. That's those are the two that I have planned for the year for her.
Yeah, I read Kindred earlier this year. Actually, I read it 2 months ago.
I was going to ask you because Octavia Butler. I haven't read Kindred yet, but out of every book that I've read by Octavia Butler, she's become a favorite.
And I've read the book that you have not read yet. Oh,
Well, I just want to make sure I'm like prepared for that mentally because I
have
know it's a
you
lot.
have you ever had those? I'm sure you've had this happen, but have you had those authors that you just like you feel like just kicking yourself because you didn't read it earlier?
Oh yeah,
Octavia Butler was one of those. I'm like, dang it, this is really
this is
good.
Tad Williams.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm just reading it now, and I'm like, why?
yeah. No, it was just. I was like, man, this is
Her
great.
writing's fantastic. I read her. I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be called the Lilith trilogy. It's Dawn.
Oh yeah, the
That whole
Lilith
trilogy.
Brood. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's it. Yep. Yeah, that I read last year, which I loved.
I have Parable the Sower also over there, but I don't want to pull it out right now.
Yeah,
If you can
I don't want to
see,
pull it out. I don't want to pull it out because it deals with a lot of political. I have to make sure that I'm very mentally ready for that.
I have
So.
a pile of books. There's also another one right there, and there's some right there. I have some above me.
You wouldn't be a book person if you didn't have piles everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. My parents were like, "God, we need to get you a new, we need to get you a new shelf." I'm like, "I've been telling you this."
I have a new shelf. I just need help building it because
Yeah.
it's one of those corner shelves. So it's one big shelf on one side, one big shelf on the other, and there's a little corner shelf.
So yeah, a little salty about that one. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah, no, I like Octavia Butler though. She's
yeah, she. I feel like she's too smart for me. And I don't mean that in like a demeaning way, but like she makes me want to like go back to school and like learn stuff because I feel really dumb.
really, I thought it was pretty easy to read.
Yeah, it was easy to read. It's just I wish I could write like her. That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, when I read it with my friend Darko, and
I love Darko.
yeah, he's a good dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember he was a subscriber of my channel, and I subbed his channel, and now he's starting to blow up, and here I
Yes.
am stuck in limbo.
I feel you. I just celebrated a year and I'm at 116-ish
Oh
subscribers.
yeah, I see it. 106. Yay! Look at that. We're
I just celebrated a year on the 30th of March.
hmm. I celebrated my year on January the 26th, I think.
Nice.
I could be wrong.
But I
I
just started my
streamed that
channel
day.
with an author. I did like what everybody tells you not to do. I just started my channel with an author interview. I was like, bam, here I am. I didn't do the typical like booktube stuff, like the TBR, all that stuff. I do that sometimes, but I I prefer like discussions and author interviews because I just find author interviews really interesting.
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about doing like a stream series maybe or something like
Mhm.
that, you know, call cuz I really love have you ever seen those in conversation, you
Yep.
know, videos? I really
Yep.
like those. I want to do something like that. Except I haven't published anything yet, but I would like to get other authors on and
Yeah.
you know, have a
It's a
similar
lot of
like
fun. I like you wouldn't think you do, but you do learn a lot from different people and different learning styles and different writing styles and like the first author that I covered was um sort of a friend of mine who writes fantasy romance, and then I met PL, and PL is absolutely lovely, and he writes hardcore political fantasy, which I love because political fantasy is my catnip when it comes to fantasy usually.
mm-hmm.
And then I have a sci-fi author scheduled for the end of the year, and then I have a cozy mystery author scheduled for the middle of the year.
Yeah, you know, I actually talked with my first podcast of this year was with Andrew Meredith, and I
He sent me a couple of his books. He's absolutely amazing.
he might be the smartest writer I've met so far
Yeah.
on YouTube at least. I don't know if he's gonna watch this, but you know,
Hi,
that's
if you
what I
do.
thought. Um, so I had a conversation with him, and it was about an hour in. I go to the bathroom, come back. I realize I hadn't set up my new mic on my OBS.
No! No!
That
That's my
was
biggest fear. Like
that
my
was
audio won't be working or
that was
something.
pain
Oh
because it
my
was a
god.
great conversation up till then, and I did manage to go like, okay, I'm gonna salvage this. We'll record
Yeah.
this, and then I'll put that up. And he's like, fine. I very much appreciate his patience with me that day. I was like, dang it though.
I'm trying to schedule an interview with Patricia Meredith. I'm in the
Yeah,
process of
I've
scheduling.
thought about talking to Patricia Meredith, but yeah, we'll see. It's on my list of stuff to do.
Yeah. It's it's on my list for May into June, so I'm trying to see what works best for her because I know she's very busy.
Yeah, though I will admit, her kind of cozy mystery that I've seen any, I
The
haven't read
Clock
any of her
Tower.
work.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I'm not a big Agatha Christie fan. I mean, I think she's a very good writer, but I just don't like that style of mystery really.
That's
Though,
fair.
though that said, I like Knives Out a lot, so you know,
I'm not either. There's a couple of her books that I
and
really
Clue,
like, but that's it.
and Clue. I really like Clue. That's a great movie.
I'm trying to think of
Anyway,
authors that I think you should try. Mystery authors.
or like
Um,
P.D. James, or I just
yeah.
it's too like cute, like I don't like
Oh, is it too twee for you? Is it too
yeah,
like?
like it's so British. That's what it is. It's so.
I think that's why I like it.
I mean, I don't hate British people, but it's
Yeah.
just like there's like I don't know if there's a Britishness, if that makes sense.
Maybe
Like how to
maybe
kind
I
of like how we have like American stuff going, like
isms.
the Americanisms. Yes,
Yeah.
British have their Britishisms, and one of them
Yeah.
is just those really like Agatha Christie style murder mysteries where it's just like, oh my gosh, the Britishness is
There's much
off the charts.
better written murder. Like she's absolutely like the standard for sure. But
Oh
I
no,
think
she's written some very good books. I mean, I think
yes,
Murder of the Orient Express is
one of
legitimately a very good book.
one of my favorites is Crooked House. And it's one of her standalones. Like it doesn't involve Marple or Perot or anything like that. It's just one of her standalones.
I also
But
just
she's
really like
also
the twist at the end of that book.
yeah, she also uses language that I know it was normal back then, but it makes me uncomfortable, so I don't really read certain ones.
Oh, you want to know what the original title
Oh, I know.
for
Oh, I know.
And Then There Were None?
Why do you think yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, that
Yeah.
nah. But in one of her books, and again, this isn't like knocking on her because it was the time period. She uses a very derogatory term against Italian people.
She also randomly disappeared for 10 days.
11.
That's
Yeah.
actually that's actually how I first discovered who she was. I'm like, it was no. It was actually from a Doctor Who episode, The Unicorn and the Wasp, which is one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes.
Yep.
Despite the fact I really again, I don't like those weird again, but it's Doctor Who, and it's the
You
David
didn't like the
Tennant.
Shakespeare episode?
It's oh no, I love the Shakespeare
The
episode.
Shakespeare episode was fantastic.
No, I love the Shakespeare episode. But no, I'm losing my train of thought here. But no,
You're fine.
it was the Dr. Donna season, and you know how that is. That was
Oh,
freaking baller.
Donna's my favorite.
I mean,
Like,
Jack Harkness is my personal favorite companion, but well, if you want to call him a companion, um, he was technically a companion to the ninth. So.
yeah. I'm in what season am I in? Because my boyfriend is huge into sci-fi, so we watch a lot of sci-fi stuff. I'm in the season after the ponds. I'm in that one.
Oh, so you meant Clara?
Yes, just
I
did.
stopped watching after the first season with 12 because I don't know, I just kind of got.
See,
burned
I
out.
like Peter Capaldi. Like, I love him as like.
I do.
Yeah.
I was just burned out with Who by that time. I was like,
That's
oh.
why I'm taking a break because we binged like 6 seasons, and I'm like, I need a minute to. I'm not no longer gonna watch it, but I need a minute to like separate and because watching it back to back, that show doesn't do well from watching back to back. I don't think.
Yeah, I always tell my friend, I'm like, and it's kind of funny because, anyway, I don't know if you've ever seen the X-Files, but
Yes, I grew up on the X-Files.
I kind of view Doctor Who in the same way I view the X-Files. Like the standalone episodes, great, but when it comes to like the main mythology plot, they vary. There's some of them that are really good, and there's some of them that aren't.
Yeah.
We'll say.
And there's still some episodes to this day that scare the living crap out of me.
Yes, exactly. God, last night I swear I played D&D on Mondays with some Canadian friends of mine.
I would like to learn. I've never played.
And my aunt likes to watch just clips of funny things on YouTube. I swear to God, she was playing. I could hear the Weeping Angels theme.
Yep.
And I walk in there, I'm like, what the hell are you listening to? Like, because I'm like, it can't be Doc. She doesn't watch sci-fi. Like, what's she doing in there?
But that's what's so funny. Like, people are like, well, you read a lot of fantasy, so why don't you read science fiction? I'm like, I normally watch it. Like, I grew up watching the X-Files. I was a little kid when the X-Files was out. And my parents loved the X-Files, so that happened. I've always watched sci-fi. I'm slowly getting into sci-fi with Octavia Butler. I want to read what is that? Leviathan
I was
Wakes.
about
I
to say
haven't tried that series yet.
you may like Ray Bradbury if you like Octavia
I,
Butler
he's
because
on my list. I
they
haven't
have
read
that
anything by him yet.
similar they have that similar kind of soft sci-fi. Though I don't like kind of putting it in those terms, but whatever.
Have you
It is
tried?
what it
I
is.
want to try Becky Chambers. I haven't read anything by her yet.
I've not tried her yet, though I have some friends who like her a lot.
Yeah,
Also, I have friends. I have friends who like Martha Wells, and then I have other friends who don't. So I don't know.
I've bounced off of a couple of hers. I
Oh,
like some of her series, but other ones I've bounced off of. So
but
it's like a hit or miss with Martha Wells for me.
yeah, X Files. I quite enjoy it.
X Files is great.
Um,
Um, yeah, I just grew up watching sci-fi more than reading it.
so like, do you watch Firefly? Because a lot of
I
people have
did.
told me to
I
watch
did.
Firefly, and I haven't yet.
I'm not gonna force you to, but if you let me put it this way,
I'm,
because it's only one season. If you're like homesick one day and you just want something to watch, that'll be fun. That's that's the perfect
it's
one.
like, well, like I know like when I'll watch it, I'll be like priming myself for
Oh yeah,
disappointment because it was only one season. But also, I really love Cowboy Bebop, and I'm really hoping that
Cowboy Bebop's one of my favorites.
I mean, it is my favorite anime,
Ugh.
so there you go.
It's between that and Ghost in the Shell for me. Those are the two.
Ah, those are great. Those are both really good.
Yeah. My brother's been yelling at me to watch certain anime that I haven't started watching yet. I'm like, I know. There's just a gajillion episodes.
Was he trying to get you to watch like One Piece or something?
No, we watched One Piece
Oh my gosh.
when we were living under the same roof. We watched One Piece for a very long time. He wants me to watch Dragon Ball because I never watched Dragon Ball, but he did.
Dragon Ball's fun. If
Yeah,
you like over the top action, you'll have a good time.
yeah.
Especially the Frieza arc. I think the Frieza arc's actually not bad.
That's what he told me.
It's pretty good. It's actually pretty good.
I've been trying to get him to watch. What was the one that I watched that I loved? Um, I've just been trying to get him to watch more stuff because he's all into anime, which is great. It's lovely, but I'm like, expand a little, watch a little bit more.
Oh, let me tell you, I knew a lot of weebs in high school, so I know the feeling.
Yeah, I'm like, expand a little bit more, but I will watch it. I'll watch it with you for sure. Um,
I'm really picky with anime though, because a lot of it
yeah,
is just like really over the top. I'll just keep it there.
yeah. There's a couple that I'm just like, why is everybody yelling all the damn time?
Oh yeah, Dragon
Like
Ball.
the yelling, like I expect that from Dragon Ball. I forget what one I watched a couple episodes of, and it wasn't bad. It was just the one character all the time was screaming, and I'm like, I can't. I can't.
Is it Vegeta? I don't know. It's been a long time
It
since
was
I've seen.
Vegeta's the one who screams, and I'm just like, I can't. The constant screaming, I can't. I'm not
Like the
against
over
anime.
the top like inflections of
I
everybody.
can't. I can't do it.
Like
It drives me
even
nuts.
the animation, and I like animation because you can just kind of go nuts. But like
Yeah,
I have limits. Okay.
yeah. Speaking of, I've been watching the X-Men one that just came out.
I did
Animation.
watch the first 3 episodes. They're pretty damn good. They're pretty ballsy, I have to say.
And
Like
they're pretty close to the original because I remember watching the
because
original when I was a kid.
they're just like I was kind of expecting a kind of safe, fun little nostalgic ride. Oh hell no, we're
No.
throwing you the curveballs immediately.
But I do appreciate that they brought back some of the original voice actors, which
I can't wait
you
to see
don't see them.
Nightcrawler. He's one of my favorite X-Men.
I always forget X-Men's part of the MCU. I always feel like it's separate.
Well, it's part of Marvel, but they haven't put it in the MCU yet.
I'm so
I don't
I'm
know
so
how
not
they're gonna do it. But
I'm not a Marvel person, so like you won't spoil anything for me because I haven't seen much. So you're okay.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I've only seen a couple movies and I've liked them,
I just
but I just don't like. Okay, this might get me in trouble, but I don't like the barrier to entry with a lot of stuff. Like you've got to watch 18 movies for all this to make sense. That's my
You
thing.
know, with Marvel, like what's nice about the MCU is you can watch. Well, maybe don't watch like Infinity War
Yeah, like those.
or Endgame without watching like 18
Yeah.
movies. But I
I
mean, you
watched
could
the
watch like Guardians of the Galaxy or
that I've
Captain
seen.
America: The Winter Soldier,
Haven't watched that one yet.
and you can enjoy those.
I loved Black Panther. Black Panther was fantastic.
Also a great movie.
Yeah,
Really,
just
really.
just like regardless of MCU-ness, just a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I've been kind of.
I haven't watched the second one because I'm not ready to cry because I know I'll cry.
It's actually pretty good. It wasn't bad. Villain
I
wasn't as
met
good as Killmonger was, but
yeah,
that was kind of I should have expected such.
I met Chadwick Boseman back in the day,
Oh, really?
a really long time ago when he was on Broadway. Yeah,
Wow.
back in 2008 when I was in high school. Yeah,
Wow.
and he like we didn't talk long, but we had like a really good we talked for like 10 minutes and we had a really good conversation. He was really sweet. Now I kind of wish I had him sign something, but we had a great conversation when we did meet.
Yeah, I remember just I mean, I had seen like photos of him like really thin, but like I thought like, oh,
Yeah,
he's doing full
it was
like
sad.
yeah, and then he died. I was
Yeah,
kind of that was sad. It was a
it
sad day.
was.
It was like when Heath Ledger died. That was a dark day.
Yep. That was another one. I did watch all the Batman films, but I know that's DC because
Yeah. Also, I
but I,
mean, I am a little biased. I do love Batman. I have a tattoo of his symbol on my leg. So,
really
yeah, hold on. Can you see
nice.
it? It's upside
Yep.
down. Please not take snapshots of my feet.
But I read a little bit of everything. Like I read horror. Like I'm my most anticipated book of the year showed up today. I'm so excited.
I have My Heart is a Chainsaw over there. It's been staring at me for a
Book
while.
3. I'm so excited.
I've read Mongrels and
Fantastic.
The Only Good Indians from Stephen Graham Jones, and I
The Only
liked them
Good
a lot.
Indians is where I started with Stephen Graham Jones. And then
Um,
I just deep dived into everything.
I really like werewolves, so I've
Oh, yeah.
Mongrels.
I Mongrels was just so different. And I mean like that's what I like about Stephen Graham Jones is every book that he writes is so different. I mean, it's still horror, but it's so different.
Mm.
Like one The Night of the Mannequins, I took me a long time to read even though it's one of his shorter books because mannequins scare the crap out of me.
I'm
And
a bit
like,
hesitant to do My Heart is a Chainsaw because to be
why?
honest, I'm not as big of a fan of slashers. I mean, I like Scream and the original Nightmare on Elm Street's pretty
That's fair.
good, and the original Halloween's pretty good, and a couple of the, but they just get
He
kind of they get. I mean, unless you watch like
but he
Friday
talks
the
about the
Third,
originals. He talks about them in the books.
like if you
So
like
it's
Friday the 13th for like the ironic, just
yeah.
enjoy the badness, then like
Mhm.
that's kind of why I like Friday the 13th. I just like the badness of it.
See, the funny thing is I can't watch horror movies, but I can read it.
I mean, they're different
Watching
mediums.
horror movies for me, I can't do. I'm a big baby. And plus I live out in the middle of nowhere by myself. So no.
I love
um
them.
I can't watch them. I can read it though.
I also read Paul Tremblay. I actually have it
I
right over
haven't
there.
I
Cabin at
haven't
the End
read
of the
him yet.
World.
I
I thought it
haven't
was a
read him yet, but I
fantastic
want
book.
to.
Victor Laval, who's also really good.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I've
I've only
read.
read Lone Women by him or Woman, Lone Woman by him and it
Well,
was
no, I've only
fantastic.
I've read. I don't want to say I've read all of his books. I've read The Changeling, Ballad of Black Tom, and Devil in Silver, which are all great books. I think.
I'm waiting on the Ballad of Black Tom from my library. I have it on hold.
Yes, it's kind of a retelling slash kind of piss take on H.P. Lovecraft. So I'm like,
Yeah, because he was extremely problematic.
oh yeah, That's
Yeah.
putting it nicely.
Yeah. But yeah, it's everything I've read by him is fantastic. I haven't gotten to everything, but
I do want to read
I heard
Lone Women. They finally got it in
it's
paperback,
so
and
good. It's so different. Um, do you like westerns? Let me
I
preface
do.
by us.
I'm
Okay,
I'm
so
actually
then
writing
you'll
one
get
right now.
some of the references then. Okay, because it's mainly like a western, but it's fantastic.
I'm actually working on one right now. I'm just taking a break because
Good for you.
yeah, wrote a fantasy novel. I haven't like put it out yet. I need to edit it some more. I don't. I can't make up my mind on if I want to go the trad route or self pub route, but we'll see. We'll see
That's
how it
fair.
goes.
I've been working on something for a while.
But what else have I read? Well, I do love Stephen King a lot. It's it's kind of
I have interesting takes when it comes to Stephen King.
who else?
The only one that I really love from Stephen King isn't technically a horror.
Well, what is it?
11/22/63.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that's actually one of my favorites. It's not
Yeah,
that
like
bad.
I like his one. Here's the interesting take. I prefer the movie adaptations of his work than his books. I know that's a very hot take as a book person, but
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people. I mean, I've heard some people say that about The Shining, and I'm like, yeah, but
The Shining I can't watch because it scares the living crap out of me. Um, The Shawshank Redemption's one of my favorite movies of all time.
oh yeah, it's a great film. I also
Um,
love The Green Mile.
The Green Mile, I cry every time.
I
Ugly
love
cry.
I love the book too. It's
I've
pretty.
never read the book. I want to
Oh,
though.
they're pretty. Frank Darabont's very like he's one of those. He's kind of like Mike Flanagan. He just
Hmm.
gets King on a level that few do. I also
I
like
seem
Misery, but I don't love it as much as
to. I love the character that Kathy Bates plays. I don't like the movie, but I love like the
No, I
exploration
mean
of
it's a
like the
great.
fandom.
No, it's a great movie. It's just like I don't know. It doesn't like it doesn't. It's one of those. It just doesn't do it for me. Like
That's fair.
Shawshank or
Yeah.
The Green Mile or
Well,
even
I
The
feel like
Shining.
there's more to Shawshank than just, and the same with the Green Mile. I feel like there's more to those than his other works than just a horror book.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
like there's more. There's more. I don't know if meat to them is the right way to say it, but there's more to explore than just the horrors. I mean, the horrors are explored because there's some really screwed up things that happen in Shawshank, but I feel like it was more about the relationships than what was going on in where they were in Shawshank.
Yeah, so reading taste is diverse. In other
Yeah,
words,
absolutely. And that's what's so hard is like people are like recommend me a book and I'm like, but I don't know your taste to safely recommend you one.
oh yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like when people who know I'm a book person are like, recommend me a book. I'm like, I need like you to answer 10 questions before I can recommend it to you.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm the same way. People are like recommend some books. I'm like, well, what kind of books? What are you looking for?
What are you into? Like what do you enjoy to do that's not reading related that we can connect to
Do
reading
you
that
like some
will
like weird transgressive fetishist stuff? I can recommend you that. And they're like, no, probably don't recommend me that.
do you like
So
classics? Like do you like sci-fi? Do you like literary fiction because I read a lot of that. Um that's what's so hard. It's just people are like you should be like a romance channel and I'm like, yes, I love romance, but that's not all I read. Absolutely love romance. And I wish people would stop crapping on it. But that's just me.
you can make like a rant stream about um why romance is great. I don't know.
Romance is fantastic. But the part that, and this is no one I've dealt with personally on YouTube, but the part that bothers me is people talk crap on it when the romance genre itself basically funds every other genre of book to be published.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my argument is like you can talk crap on it, but it helps bigger books that don't come out as often, because they do come out very quickly,
You know, I actually,
get published.
I don't mind romance. You know, like one of my favorite movies is Her, which is a science fiction romance movie.
I've seen that movie twice. Yeah.
Love that movie. So yeah, I like love
It was
stories
different.
when they're done well.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a
the
lot of them that aren't.
that's the yeah. I'm picky. There's certain authors that I read, and then that's basically it.
So have you read like Fourth Wing? You know, do you think that's
Yeah, I did.
quality literature?
I had fun with it. Is it Jane Austen? No. But is it a good time if you just want to read something on a beach? Yeah. If you want to take something on vacation, that's a fast read, that's fun. Slightly fantasy-esque with dragons. But is it a fantasy book? No. But is it a fun, good time? Sure.
Only read 3 chapters and I'm like, I'm done.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Like, but I read it with my book club, and we all had a good time. Like, was it perfect? No. Did I have a good time reading it? Did I finish it in 2 days? Yeah.
There's so many just things that just don't. She doesn't even bother to explain. I'm just like, all right, well, I guess that's that's where we're going.
But that's the like, I look at her books as like popcorn reads. Like,
Yeah,
they're just
I guess
fun.
so.
Like, they're just fun. That's the kind of. I haven't read the sequel, but I did like the first one. Now, is it the greatest book I've read last year? No, but I did like it.
Yeah, I'm all like, well, you know, I read this book called Red Seas Under Red Skies, and thought the romance in that was great. So
I tried to read him, and I bounced off of the first one so bad.
Oh, that was my favorite book of last year.
I bounced off of the main character.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of.
He was a little much. I was like, all right, sir.
He is, as the kids like to say, a bit extra.
Yes, I think that's what it was. I didn't hate it. I like the world. I just didn't like the characters.
I like Jean a lot more than Locke. I'll say.
Yeah, I bounced off of that one hard.
Locke's a little. He's a little foolish, let's say.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is, like, I haven't continued. What is it called? Oh God, the Patrick Rothfuss series. I read the first one, and I won't continue until the third's out because, yeah.
I haven't read them at all.
The first one's not bad.
I've heard people say it's really good. I've heard a lot of people say it's escapist crap.
I don't think it's crap, but I also think people sold me the wrong expectations.
I also saw that this guy, what was the guy's name? Like R.R. Verdi or some shit. I don't know. Apparently wrote a book
that's Binding?
Literally the same plot of Patrick Rothfuss. I'm like, well, there you go, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why don't you pull a Terry Goodkind while you're at it?
I have very interesting takes when it comes to fantasy, but that's the thing. I don't judge people who like to read it at all. Like, certain types of fantasy.
Well, okay, let's see here. You have the Grace of Kings. Isn't that Ken Liu?
Yep.
A fantasy novel. So
love it.
Are you saying you're prejudiced against fantasy novels?
No, I just have hotter takes than most people think I would.
Okay. Well, you know what? I want to know. Hit me with the hot. I want to feel the spice.
Like, it's just like everything that everybody's like. Everything. Okay, I know this is probably something people hear, but everything's not equivocal to George R.R. Martin. And I'm not saying any of these authors are bad, but do I think the marketing, as someone who has a marketing and PR background, who went to school for that, not every book that's fantasy is that. So, sorry, that's a little, it's just you can't, no, stop it. Like, and it's just, I don't know. I liked Grace of Kings. I want to continue. I'm going to continue, but it's paused for right now.
They say it was Asian Game of Thrones.
No. Is it very political fantasy and not as much fantasy as it's sold? Yeah. Is it fantastically written? Absolutely. Reading that book, I think I've realized I'm much more of a character reader than I thought, because the characters are kind of glossed over to get to the next plot point.
Here's one of my spicy takes. I really.
Go
How do I
ahead.
put this? No. I know what I'm gonna say. I just don't know how I'm gonna say it.
You don't know how to phrase it?
I don't know how to phrase it exactly. I get annoyed when people use categories like I'm a character first reader because let me tell you, I've done that before, and then I'll read a
Yeah.
book that just completely.
Yeah, it depends.
Like,
It
I don't know
depends.
if I would call American Gods a character-driven book, but
One of my favorite books of all time.
it is my favorite fantasy novel.
It's
So
so good. I love Neil Gaiman, period, but that's my favorite Neil Gaiman so far.
what can
Love
I
it.
say?
I love it.
I'm like John Travolta, in that meme where he's just like looking around, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I want it to be an
But
experience, but I
yeah,
think characterization's a big thing for me because if I don't care about the character, if at least I don't understand them on some level,
that
then
was the
like
thing.
get
It
out of
was
here.
like I
But
know
I don't
people
say I'm a
use
character first reader.
yeah. I know people use this phrase a lot, but like I don't like when things are glossed over and I'm just like, "Wait, how do we get from there to there?"
What do you
Like,
mean?
when people say like a book's an idea book?
Oh
Like it's
yeah,
all about the
yeah, yeah.
like I know that's a cliche thing to say, but that's what I feel like Grace of Kings was. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I gave it 4 stars. Am I going to continue cuz I was told by a lot of my friends who have read it like don't judge the series on the first book because it's setting up a bunch of stuff. So I didn't try to do that. But I I didn't realize that I was much more of a character reader until I read that book because that book is not really about the characters, it's about the world and the engineering parts, which is awesome. And that's one of the reasons I picked it up because my father's an engineer. So I was like, okay, it'll all make sense to me.
It's all come
But
full circle. We were talking about John Morrow earlier.
yeah,
He was an
exactly.
engineering professor.
Yep.
Your dad's an engineer. This is great.
My dad's an engineer and my brother works in engineering. So yeah. But like I didn't hate it. I was just more confused. I was like, but I want to go back here and find out how in 2 paragraphs we went 10 years. Like we skipped over a lot. And I do I think he's a fantastic writer because I've read a lot of his short fiction? Absolutely.
Like I often like to say this facetiously, but like I
Mhm.
am not a sexy YouTuber. Like literally, my favorite fantasy novel is American God. Who
Well,
says
it's
that?
fantastic.
Who says
America,
that?
yeah.
Like you
It
won't
was
see
one of my top
Bookworm
10
saying that.
my top books in 2001.
I mean, you probably won't hear Bookborn. I mean, well, she likes gaming, so maybe she would
Yeah.
say that.
I love gaming.
But you won't hear like Mike's book reviews say that. Yeah.
Yeah. I that's the thing. It's like and that's why I'm not stressing out about like how many people I have following me because I'm not for everybody because I read a little bit of everything. I'm not just a fantasy booktuber.
I'm not like I'm not
You
like
know?
I'm not like Matt's fantasy book reviews, who's like
Yeah.
kind of saucy. Like he kind of likes to be saucy, but I'm like it's just like I got this kind of cult following, and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm kind of enjoying that, but at the same
I
time, I'm
enjoy
like,
my
dang.
little crew is what I call it. My little crew, my little group of people.
But then I see like my friends like Darko and like John Mint, and I'm just like, oh.
Darko's fantastic.
No, Darko's a great guy. I actually had him on my podcast a few weeks ago.
He's awesome. We were messaging back and forth because he asked me for a recommendation, and I gave him a fantasy standalone, which I love that I read this year.
But yeah, I mean, you don't hear a lot of YouTubers go like, man, American God, that is peak fantasy literature.
Well, a lot of people. I mean, have you read Jonathan Strange?
I'm about to start it.
Okay, people fantastic. It's fantastic. It was my top book of the year last year.
Really, I showed
Number
it
one
to
book.
you earlier, and you were kind of
Yeah.
like,
I couldn't see it because of the way the shadow hit it.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Ooh, I have a shorter paperback. It's not a mass market, but it's shorter.
Yeah, I
But
got this at a not a used bookstore. It's called a Half Price Books, which is like a classier used bookstore. If that makes
that's
sense.
kind of like McKay's around here.
Like like the books look nice, but it's still
Yeah.
kind of a used bookstore.
Like it's not a question mark if it's gonna be like a messed up book.
No,
Like
yeah,
stuff's ripped off the
exactly.
side of it.
But Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell,
It's
looking
so good.
forward to it.
If you want to have a discussion, let me know because I've been screaming about it for like a year.
Sure, yeah, I'll keep
It's
that in
one of my
mind.
favorites.
I read Paranace last year, and I'm like, that was great. So I'm gonna.
I'm picking that up. I'm picking that up this year because a friend got it for me for my birthday.
But Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell. I've had friends tell me that book is great for a
It's
while.
so
So,
good. But are you okay? Let me ask: are you a history person? Because a big portion of it is naval history.
well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I do like history a lot. I mean,
Okay,
I don't know if I've heard it's
because I feel
based
like
on.
that's this.
I've
I
heard
feel like that's the section a lot of people bounce off of because
I've
it's
heard
a
a
lot
lot of
of like history.
people. I've heard it's based on Napoleonic era, which I am
Yes,
interested in.
yes.
I mean, I just read
A
Sharp's
huge portion,
Tiger. Not
like 400 pages of it, are all about that part.
I read Sharp's Tiger not too long ago,
I
but
really like those. The Sharps books. I really like them.
yeah, I read Sharp's Tiger. I'm hoping to talk about it with Ben from Genghis Khan soon. We just need to set up a day.
I haven't gotten far in them, but the ones I have read, I liked.
But yeah, no, Jonathan Strange and Mr. No, I'm looking
It's so
forward to it.
good.
I'm looking forward
It's so
to it.
good.
I mean,
But it's also like because of the type of language she uses, it's also akin to like Jane Austen. So I understand why people bounce off of it if they don't like that type of writing style.
no, I heard there's a lot of footnotes in there too.
Uh huh. And it's fun. But I'm also like a huge history nerd. Like I would love to find a job in research. That's just me. Um, so it was kind of like the perfect book for me. But was I intimidated because my copy was over a thousand
I
pages?
mean,
Yeah,
it's a chunky. I don't like.
it's chunky.
It's a
It took me
chunky
2 months to
boy.
read. It took me 2 months to read, but did I love every second of it? Absolutely.
I'm hoping to get some smaller books in during the month of April, so I won't just make my what I read in April and be like, well, I just read
Well,
this the whole time.
well, that's why I have this out. I have
Is that Winnie the Pooh? No, that's not.
Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, okay. I
I've
remember.
never read it, so I want to pick it up.
I hate to sound like a 6-year-old boy, but that book always looked girly to me.
That's fair. But I'm curious because I've never read it. I'm curious.
Looked a little saccharine, and I'm like, oh,
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes.
I like monsters and weird shit.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why though. Like I read a really heavy horror novel and I need something lighter. Like that's when I go to like my
Though
romance.
Neil Gaiman apparently says that Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is the bee's knees.
It's fantastic.
He calls it unquestionably the finest English novel of fantastic written in the last 70 years.
He's not wrong, in my
So,
opinion.
um, I mean, Neil Gaiman, I'll take his word for it.
But I just love Neil Gaiman in general, so
He's an
yeah,
interesting guy.
he's my top 3 of my favorite authors.
Though it's weird because Neil Gaiman has like a weird spot on because there's a lot of booktubers who like him, like Bookborn, and
Mm-hmm.
I think who else likes Neil Gaiman?
I know a lot of people that do. Fantasy Awash.
Fantasy Awash loves him.
A lot of people do. Even people that I know that don't watch BookTube love Gaiman.
Well, yeah, no, I know a lot of people
Yeah.
love Gaiman. Well, I have close friends who really love Gaiman. So I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, it was 2019 when I read American Gods. That was a magical experience. Let me tell you, it was.
I'm glad I read that one slow though, because it's a meandering book. It's very
Oh, I
like
found it compelling. I don't know why. It's one of those books it's hard to describe. I don't know why I was so taken with it, but
and I loved the first season of the show. I know it's not perfect, but was it a good time? Yeah.
I didn't watch it though. I thought the casting was. I thought Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday was a great casting choice.
And Ricky Whittle as Shadow was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people go like, "Oh, the characterization's flat,"
No.
and I'm like, you know what? Suck it up. This is a magical experience. No, Stop
There
it.
is one scene in that whole
No, I won't
book
admit
that
that
was weird.
I won't admit that it's not a flawed book because it
Oh no, it's
is.
not perfect, but
There's
was it
like the
a good time?
asides that I thought were like, oh, you could have cut those out.
Yeah,
You'd still be fine. But I
it was a
loved
good
it.
time.
It's like I
It
love
was a
it.
good time. Like they focus on Bilquis a lot more in the show because the actress who plays her was fantastic.
I also really liked oh god, the Slavic gods who get all drunk and he's like
Yeah.
this bit. He's like, I'm going to slam your head in. I like that guy. I love him. Dude's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. There's just
He's one of my favorite characters in the book.
a lot of those characters don't show up as much. Like that's why I tell people to like watch the show as well because they focus a lot more on some of the characters that are only in the book for like a chapter.
Yeah, I do want to read a Nancy Boys at some point. I haven't.
Yeah, I have that too. I need to read that.
Yeah.
I really
Um.
need to read that.
I do want to read that at some point, but you have to be in a particular mood to read Gaiman.
Yes, you have to be in the right headspace.
Yeah, exactly. I saw Leanna's Library do a video about American Gods, and I'll admit I was a little triggered. Like I was like,
There is a scene in American Gods that I'm just like that wasn't necessary, but
is
okay.
it the Queen of Sheba scene?
It's the one with the cheetah woman. Is that the Queen of Sheba? Where he falls asleep in the apartment and ends up going up onto a roof and spoilers sleeps with a cat woman.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's I like in the show they didn't cover it as much, but when I read the book, I was like, I read the book with another booktuber friend of mine, and and she's like, wait till you get to such and such chapter. I'm like, why? What happened? And I they went into detail of, and I was just like,
No, Queen of Sheba is the one where she bangs the dude and then she sucks the dude up. And,
yeah, yep, oh yeah,
yeah.
that's the actress they have for her is fantastic. Like they made her part bigger because she's so great. She's also an audiobook narrator, the actress. So if you listen to audiobooks, she does a lot of audiobooks. She's fantastic.
Also, Peter Stormare as the his name's like
The Leprechaun.
no it's the Slavic god who's basically become this just
The Hammer.
grumpy old man.
Yeah,
The Hammer.
the Hammer.
Yeah,
And he always wants to. Is it chess
was
that he wants to play?
that was
Or
also
checkers?
that was also great casting.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like just wasn't the same. At least for me, it wasn't the
Yeah,
same.
it's fair. They went a lot further with certain storylines, but it was really really good.
Yeah, and then there's people like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere, and I'm like, yeah, you guys.
Like, have you read the book? The book kind of meanders, and I mean that in the most loving way because
No.
I love
I
that
mean,
book.
I'm talking about the book, not the show. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, the book meanders, but I don't know. Neil Gaiman he's magical. That man is a literal magician. That's all I can say.
I think that's technically one of his longest books.
I think
Page
that is
lengthwise.
one of his longest. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I also love the Sandman. Like
I have that on
like
deck this year.
Sandman and American Gods are like right there. Like
The Ocean at the End of the Lane is my second favorite.
I liked Ocean at the End of the Lane. That was a good one. Shorter read, so that was nice.
And I really like he does a lot of children's fiction as well. If you ever just want to pick up a funny book, it's called Fortunately the Milk. And it's all about how a dad goes out because his family needs milk for cereal in the morning, and he saves the world using the milk carton that the milk comes in. It's really cute. I read it with my younger siblings.
The Graveyard Book.
Yes.
Haven't read it yet. Someday I will. But...
It's a retelling of Jungle Book.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Except it's
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. That's one I have, but I haven't read from him. I want to though. I have a Nazi Boys. I've read Neverwhere.
I haven't read that one. I'm afraid because I read American Gods and I love American Gods, and I've heard
That it's nothing's
Neverwhere.
gonna, yeah.
I've heard Neverwhere is kind of his like London version of that book, and I'm like, oh
Hmm.
man, like what if I read it and I'm just gonna be like, man, this ain't no American God. It would suck if that happened.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, to be honest, the Neverwhere book was technically a TV script.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I've seen
So
that.
I understand why people bounce off of it. It wasn't my favorite, but I still enjoyed it.
I mean, it's gaming.
Yeah, I just enjoy his writing. Same thing with like Stephen Graham Jones. I will probably never give less than like a 4 for any of his books because it's just so different. Every book he does is so different. And I don't know, I just have such a weird, and then I'm going through like I'm doing a series on my channel of deep diving into classics. I know that's not everybody's bread and butter, but I enjoy it. Like, and I don't want to stress out
Oh, there was a
because
period. Oh, there was a period I was in middle school, high school. I binged a bunch of classics.
yeah,
Some of them
same.
I love, and some of them I did not.
Which ones did you not like?
Let's see. Scarlet Letter.
Yeah, that's not my favorite either.
And it sucks because I really like Puritans, okay? Like those.
Really?
Like Puritans are great. They're freaking weird. And I love them. It's like the Amish. They're like the
I've never
Amish.
thought about it.
Sucked. It sucked. Because I really
Yeah.
wanted to like that book. Because I'm like, ooh, it's a gothic novel and it has Puritan. I'd read The Crucible. Just read The Crucible.
The Crucible was great.
so much better.
I
Not as
there was
angsty
one.
and sexually charged, but you know, it's still pretty angsty.
And honestly,
Even
there's a film version of The Crucible with Daniel Day-Lewis
even
that
though
I
I
love.
think that God, what's the dude's name? John Proctor. I think that guy's a douche. Fucking hate him.
Oh, I hated that book so much. I'm like, you just make this woman out to be an awful woman just because. Yeah.
Oh, I banged a teenager. Oh, I'm like, shut up, you old bitch.
I hated it.
I mean, I try to be like he at least tries to be like he's just a dick. He just like he beats up his like maid servant or whoever the hell that is. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's not a nice person, but like, chill, bro. Like she's freaked out, and you're just like, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm like, oh yeah, that's.
But that's also hard because it's like even though it makes us uncomfortable,
I don't like him. Let's put it
it's
that way.
yeah. Those things of like I get why it's there, but I still don't like it.
You, sir, not a good guy. Or well, I don't know. Maybe it's like a modern day different standards thing, but
Yeah, that's what I think it
I
is.
think he's kind of an ass. But it's kind of like I watch it.
Oh,
I'm
I
like, he
agree.
seems like an asshole.
Yeah, I agree. But most men in that time period were allowed to do a lot more than
I
we
don't
would
know
think
why.
is okay.
Well, actually, I do know why she probably stayed with them. They probably didn't permit divorce in Puritan
Yeah,
times.
basically.
But
Or you were just shunned if you were divorced. Like no one
I'd
was
be
allowed
like,
to ever.
fuck that. Give me the fucking Scarlet Letter A
But
on there.
that's also our
Just
that's
I
also
know it's
our
hard.
like current time thinking. That's what makes
I
it
mean,
tough.
I would not. I would be more bugged by it if Abigail Williams wasn't such a bitch.
You really hate that book.
No. I like the Crucible. That's the thing. I like the Crucible. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't like John Proctor. I think he's a dickhead.
Yeah. Even though I do love Daniel Day-Lewis and he played him in the movie.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I love
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
No, I like the Crucible a lot. I like it a lot more than the Scarlet. I think it blows the Scarlet Letter out of the water personally, but
Yeah. And there's just a lot of like classics that I've never read. Like I've never read anything by George Eliot. I've never read anything by no,
I'm
I've
turning
read
into
stuff by
Alan
Edith.
now, talking about my hatred of John. I hate him.
You're fine.
He's a dickhead.
We struck a nerve. Yeah, he is kind of
geez, dude, calm down.
an ass. He is kind of an ass. But
His
there's just
wife,
a
like,
Yeah.
God bless that woman. She she
Well,
goes through a
women didn't
lot.
have a lot of power in marriages at that time period either,
I
or like
know. I
or
know.
agency per se. Not
God.
saying anything that happened was okay. Just
No, but yeah. Anyway,
yeah, the whole thing.
what other classics did I not like? Catcher
Huh?
in the Rye was a weird one. That's
I
when I
I
go
ha-
back.
I hated that one.
That's when I go back. I'm like, I know he's not supposed to be kind of like he's kind of a dickhead, but I kind of feel bad for him, but he's also kind of a dick.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
it's
just
that well written, really.
There was a lot of books in high school that I didn't like. But here's the funny thing. I hated the over analyzation of books, but now I have a booktube channel where I analyze books. So I don't
I
know.
think Franny and Zoe from J.D. Salinger is a better book. Shorter too.
I've never did I read J.D. Salinger? The one book that really upset me is Flowers for Algernon made me not that it was a bad book, it
I was
was
about to
just
say that's a
very upsetting.
great book. What are you talking about?
It, it's a really good book, it's just upsetting. It's very
Let's see. Grapes of Wrath. I think I might have just read that at the wrong time, but I remember it was just
I
kind of.
never read it. I want
And
to though.
I don't mean to have a pun. This isn't meant to be a pun, but it was kind of
Mhm.
dry.
Well, yeah. I think that's a complaint for a lot of his books though.
Oh,
A lot of his bigger books.
I love Of Mice and Men and The East of Eden.
I
Those
haven't
books are
read
great.
I read Of Mice and Men in high school. I have never read East of Eden, but I plan on changing that.
What other classic books?
I love Great Expectations even though I'm not a huge Dickens reader. Like I haven't read a lot
I
of
thought
Dickens,
Catch
but I do
22 was. Yeah, I need to
eh,
read that again. I don't remember it, to be honest with you, but I remember I kind of bounced off that one.
oh, classics. What else? I want to read a lot of female classics that people just forget about. Like a lot of people don't talk about George Eliot, Edith Wharton.
Is
Um,
George Eliot a woman?
mhm. Yeah, it was a pen name
Oh,
because back then women couldn't write for themselves.
it's like, ha! Women can't write,
Uh
that
huh.
type of thing.
Basically. Um. What was the other one? There's a if you look into it for that time period, there's a bunch of women that wrote under male pseudonyms. Anne Radcliffe, she inspired a lot of Jane Austen's work, so I want to read her. Um. Yeah, there's just forgotten classics that no one thinks of
Frankenstein,
now.
I like.
I love Frankenstein.
Oh,
I haven't read it in a very long time, but I want to reread
oh,
it.
another one I was kind of met on Dracula.
I had fun with Dracula because I just thought of it as like a fun, campy.
There's a lot of weird, like,
Yeah,
erotic subtext, and there's a lot of weird
yeah.
sexual angst in that book. I'm like, what is this?
But in all fairness, I listened to the audiobook and it was read by Tim Curry, who I love.
That probably helped a lot.
So that's why I think I loved it. And Dracula, another one that I've never read that I want to for in October is Phantom of the Opera. I've never read that. I've seen the musical, all that stuff. Never read the book.
Yeah, Dracula's weird. Like, it has a bunch of weird, just sexual angst. I'm like, dude, just jerk off. Like, just that'll help you so much. There's a lot of authors I could say that to be honest with you.
I was gonna say you can go down a rabbit hole with that one. Let's see, classics, and a lot of like newer classics. Like I want to read Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Um,
Sounds familiar.
it was a movie in the early '90s with Anthony Hopkins, which is fantastic. Um, but I think that's more of a modern classic because I think that came out in the '80s, maybe. I could be wrong. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of like gaps in my reading because when I was in college, I didn't read much for fun.
Well,
Um,
I will note Taming of the Shrew is I get that it's kind of like ooh nowadays, but
yeah,
man, that's fun. Like watching it, like actually watching
My
it is
my
fun.
favorite play of his that's not a comedy, even though it's categorized as a comedy, but it's not, is The Merchant of Venice.
Oh, I love that one.
It's fantastic, but it's categorized wrong. Why isn't that under the drama section of his plays? It's categorized as a comedy. There's nothing funny about that at all. And my favorite comedy is Much Ado About Nothing from him.
I still need to read his comedies. You
It's
know,
so good.
I gotta hold on. Let me.
It's so good.
Got this puppy for Christmas last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very proud of it. It's my own. It's one of my few collectible books. I don't know if I'm gonna like sit down and read it, but I have it and I love it.
It's beautiful.
Also, Titus Andronicus is also not great, but man, that's fun.
One I'm still confused by, even though I enjoyed it. As You Like It, because it's just weird. But it was fun. But it's just really weird. Um,
My favorite is it kind of switches, it kind of zigzags from Richard III
mhm.
and Macbeth, or the Scottish
Macbeth
play.
is just crazy. I
Fucking,
just
I
got, I
love,
just saw Macbeth on stage.
I like Shakespeare's scheming plays. Like I don't know, just I
Mhm.
like the ones where everyone's. I like Othello. I like Richard III. I like the Scottish play, and those are the ones where everyone's scheming to kill each other.
Have you seen the modern
That's also
adaptation?
probably why I like Titus Andronicus. It's probably
Yeah.
why I kind of have a soft spot, even though I don't think it's that great. But Titus Andronicus.
Have you seen the modern adaptations that came out in like 2007?
Of what?
All of all of Shakespeare's plays.
Oh, depends.
There's like
No.
modern-ish because it's 2007 retellings. Like for example, Macbeth is a restaurant owner in this modern retelling, and it's so interesting as like if anybody's worked in restaurants, they know how stressful it can be,
Oh
and it's
no, I
so
haven't
interesting
seen.
to
I've heard of that though.
it's James McAvoy plays Macbeth, and it's fantastic. It's not a perfect adaptation, but it's like for like a modern adaptation, it's very interesting to equate Macbeth and his want for kingdom
One of
and to be
my
the king.
one of my favorite Macbeth adaptations I've seen is the one with Michael Fassbender.
I don't
That
think
one's
I've seen that one.
great. Oh my
I haven't.
god. Everyone's
I
like,
s-
oh, or well, there's some people who like it, but man, I love that movie. I mean,
the King Lear one with Anthony Hopkins was fantastic. It's like
um,
a three
also
episode one.
Fassbender he can play unhinged
Yes.
so well. And when like Macbeth really goes bonkers, my god, he sells it.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
so good.
There's certain actors that no matter what, if it's gonna be if it's
It's like
a
get
Shakespeare
Jack Nicholson to
adaptation.
play Macbeth, it would be great.
Oh geez. The one, but I love the film version of all of his comedies because of the people that are in it. Like it's Emma Thompson, it's Keanu Reeves is in it. It's from like the early '90s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
Denzel's in it.
it's fantastic. It's so good, and everybody gives it crap because it's got like American actors in it, but it's so good. It's my favorite
Um, I really,
adaptation wise.
I really like the Branagh Hamlet a lot.
Yeah,
I know it's a classic, but it's a fucking great movie. Okay,
I've never seen the Hamlet. I've seen his Henry V
that's
adaptation.
also a good one.
Yeah, I've seen.
Though,
I really like Kenneth Branagh.
though that one's kind of a propaganda one because
Yeah.
then again, Shakespeare was an entertainer
Mhm.
first and foremost,
Yeah.
which is kind of hilarious considering that you know,
It's highbrow.
it's highbrow now. Same
Yeah.
thing with like Charles Dickens. Like that was he was the Stephen King of his day. Really.
Yeah. He got, and there's certain ones that you can tell he got paid by the word because it's very like word bloated.
Mm,
A lot of them are very bloated, or let me put it this way, a lot of them you could tell they were weekly submissions into a paper
mm-hmm.
because and then everybody just took it and smushed it into a book and didn't edit.
I do love A Tale of Two Cities
I've never read it.
and Oliver Twist
I've been a part of the
and A
musical
Christmas Carol.
adaptation.
Um, oh man, the one in the '60s where God, what's that dude's name? It's Oliver something. Let me look it up. Oliver 68. Oliver Reed as Bill Sykes is amazing. It's a great performance.
I'll have to check it out.
Then again, I'm biased. I love Oliver Twist. I love that story.
It's
So
been a very long time since I've actually read it. I've seen more of the musical adaptations than I have actually read it.
well, the '68 version is it's the musical.
Okay. Then it might be the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And I also, of course, everybody seems to forget that Oliver and Company is an Oliver Twist retelling for Disney.
Oh yes. Yeah, Billy Joel's in it.
Billy Joel and Bette Midler
Yeah, you're
is
like
in it.
what?
and Cheech from Cheech and Chong is in it too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And everybody seems to forget it, even though it's fantastic.
Yo, Bill Sykes in that film was fucking scary. Like, oh
I'll,
my
I'll have
god.
I'll have to check it out.
No, I was talking about Oliver and Company, but he's scary in Oliver 68 as well. Oliver Reed,
Yeah.
man.
I really want to read Nicholas Nickleby. I've never read that.
I
And
want to read
Barnab
like Great Expectations. And
Great Expectation is my favorite from
David
him.
Copperfield. And...
What's the other one? My one of my
I
really
don't know
good
about
friends
like
loves
Bleak House.
Barnaby
That one
Rudge.
looks a little too long. I don't know, but I mean, you know, what am I?
Barnaby Rudge I want to read, and Dombey and Sons.
I mean, what am I talking about?
Yeah.
You know, like what am I going on about?
This. My copy is 931 pages.
Oh God, how many pages is mine? Well, it is in the 1006.
Yeah, that's the paperback length. Yep. Message me though when you hit certain points because you're gonna want to talk to someone about it.
You know what?
Sure.
I'll do it. Like,
Please, because
I'm actually,
I love I've been screaming at people to read this and for like a year, and
I've been looking forward to this.
it's so good.
It's a thick boy. Like, I want to read it. Like, I want to see
And
what
take your time with it because it's not something that you should like race through.
Yeah, I've heard that, and like
it's a
people
very,
are like, "Oh, it's slow,"
time
and I'm
with it.
like, "Look, I don't mind if it's slow."
But do you get British humor? Because a lot of British humor is in that book.
I mean,
Like-
I like Monty Python and Hitchhiker's
Well,
Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, then you'll understand because a lot of it, like a lot of people that have started physically reading it versus like I did the audio and I physically read it. Like people read it just straight, and it's meant to be like a comedic scene because they can't tell the inflection. But when you hear it, it's funnier for some of the scenes.
Yeah, I remember my friend Colin from Colin's Corner he said that happened with him. So
Colin's great. We're actually gonna do a reread of it this year.
Oh
Together.
yeah, I think he was telling me, aren't you and him doing a Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
Yeah, we're gonna reread it and then do a discussion at some point. But like life happens.
Good luck. It's look at I'm about to start it, and oh man,
It's great though.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I've
But we're gonna do.
We
meant to do it in January, but then like life happened for both of us.
I have a friend named Keeley who actually introduced me to this book first, and he's a very hard critic, but he really enjoyed Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, so I'm like, I'll give it a shot.
I'm really curious because they're supposedly supposed to be a sequel, but I don't know if that's actually gonna happen. but let me tell you this: it ends with a satisfying conclusion. It's not like it leaves you on a cliffhanger.
Like, look, as long as the characters are interesting
They're fantastic,
and I
and some of them are enraging.
I've heard that Jonathan Strange is kind of an asshole, but
Jonathan
if
Strange
he's an entertaining or compelling asshole, I'll feel it.
How do I put him? He's a very one-minded person.
Uh huh.
Like
I've also heard it compared to Amadeus, which is one of my favorite films. So
I've never heard it compared to that, but I could see it.
Yeah, my friend John Minton was like, Amadeus. It's kind of like that. And I'm like,
I haven't thought of that.
Really? I gotta read this as soon as possible.
It's fantastic. And if you want to do like a comparison, there's a BBC miniseries that is fantastic.
Well,
it's not a 1-for-1, but it's great.
Well,
that you have the cover, yeah.
Yeah. Also,
I have to say they picked fantastic actors for it.
I do like God, Eddie, what the fuck is his last name? I'm always Again, it's been a long day.
It's okay. Same here. It's been a very long day.
It's been a long day, all right?
I'm actually kind of surprised I still have power, to be honest with you.
What's that dude's name? Let me see. Eddie Marson. Yeah, that guy's great. He's in he's in the God damn it. He's in the last The World's End. He was in that. He's great in that movie.
I haven't heard of that movie in a very long time.
The Edgar Wright movie? Yeah, he's what else?
It's funny that you bring up Hitchhiker's Guide though, because I've never read it, and it's my boyfriend's favorite. It's my boyfriend's favorite book, so I'm gonna read it, and then we're gonna like have a live discussion.
I will note I have only read the first one, but it is one of my favorite science fiction novels.
Yeah, I'm really
like if you like
excited.
Monty Python, that
I grew up on Monty Python.
Python, that surreal humor, you'll love it.
Benny is it? What was the comedian? Benny Hill back in the 70s?
I only know the music from Benny Hill.
Yeah, that's my dad loved Benny Hill, so I grew up with all that stuff. So I'm a British.
Yeah, that's another one where I'm often like, oh, Terry Pratchett, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, it's cool. So good.
That's cool.
It's so good.
Have you read Douglas Adams?
Terry Pratchett's hysterical.
I'm hoping to read Guards or one of the Discworld books at some point.
Guards is where I started.
I'm hoping to start with him somewhere, but let me tell you, Douglas Adams, he's shit. I like him a lot.
I'm planning on picking it up this month, actually, because it fits for one of the prompts.
If you love Life of Brian and that kind of
weird... That's so funny that you bring that up, because my boyfriend just made me watch that like a month ago for the first time.
Really?
Yeah, I've never watched it.
Oh, it's
it was great. It was great. But I was like
if you like that Monty Python just fucking weird out there kind of humor, then you'll dig Hitchhiker's Guide.
I'll jive with it. Okay, good.
It's bizarre though. Like literally, like this isn't a spoiler. This happens like in the first chapter. Like the planet gets destroyed and they're just like, yep, There's like, yeah, we're just moving it. We're putting rental. Like it's pretty much like a great Monty Python sketch. Like if Monty Python wrote a sci-fi novel, it would be Hitchhiker's Guide.
I tried to watch the movie without any context, and I was so confused. The film that came out in like the early 2000s.
The movie is... Now, there is some great stuff in there. Martin Freeman, great.
Mos
Sam
Def
Rockwell,
is fantastic.
Great. Alan Rickman as Marvin.
Great.
Mwah.
Alan Rickman in anything.
Kind of. It's a bit of a streamlined version.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I would have much preferred Edgar Wright to do a Hitchhiker's Guide adaptation, because if you've watched his movies, his zaniness he would kill it. But oh well, alas.
I remember watching it with my dad, and my dad never read the book, and neither did I, and we were just like, I'm so confused.
But Alan Rickman, that's fair. It is. It's like Python, where the humor is just so weird and out there. You're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
It's just like, there you go.
I'm looking forward to it though, because I'm trying to get my boyfriend into reading more. So we're trying to
But if
he
you
has
like
my
that
favorite.
weird absurdist stuff, like
Yeah,
you'll dig it. You'll
yeah.
dig it.
I like it from certain. If I can trust the author to do it, I will. I'm in completely.
And people are like, "Oh, Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett are different." And I'm like, "Well, I
But
don't
Terry
know.
Pratchett's still funny as hell.
I haven't read Pratchett, but like, has anyone read Douglas Adams? You know."
I've read Pratchett, and then I've read the Good Omens that he did with Neil Gaiman.
Oh yeah, I did read. I did read a little bit of Good Omens.
And the adaptation is fantastic
I have
of
heard
Good
that.
Omens. Because
So
most
I already
book
knew Neil
to
Gaiman
movie
to be funny.
adaptations
There's
suck.
some bits in American Gods that are fucking
Hysterical?
hilarious.
They're hysterical. He's he's the very quiet funny.
Wanna
He's not
see
the
Lucy's
bombastic.
tits? I fucking love that scene. I'm a 12-year-old boy at heart. What can I say? When a god tries to show you a famous person's titties, like, it's funny. At least it is to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
You seem like a much more cultured and mature person than my plebeian ass.
You're fine. I'm also the oldest of. I have 4 younger brothers, so I understand.
So, like, you just heard a bunch of titties, when you were growing
Just
up.
guy humor. I'm used to it.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me.
No, but, like, yeah, or, like, the part with the Raven where he's like, say nevermore, and he's like, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Some of it is, I'm just like, because I was very shocked reading American Gods, even though I loved it, because it's not his normal writing style.
Oh my, I was in love with it. I don't
Like,
know.
it's very, because he doesn't go for that, sexual stuff usually in all his other books that I've read.
Oh yeah, it's probably
That's
the most
why I was like,
explicit book.
wait a second. Like the weird sexual stuff.
Oh yeah, it's probably his most explicit work to date. I mean,
And I still loved it, but I was just like, coming from other works that he's written,
there
I
is
was
some
just like,
weird
wow.
sex stuff in Ocean at the End of the Lane as well.
Yes. And that's why I get so mad at booksellers that put a lot of his books in the wrong section. Like Ocean at the End of the Lane is not meant for children, and I found it in the children's section of my local bookstore. I'm like,
Or did it get
no.
turned into a stage play? I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
I would be curious to see it as a stage play because I feel like it would translate pretty well.
Apparently,
to
they
stage.
did adapt it to a stage play. I have not seen it, but
I would love to. He's an author that I would love to meet.
Yeah, Fantasy Awash got to go see him a few
Oh,
months.
I'm jealous.
She's gonna go see him in a few months. I was so jealous.
I want to meet Stephen Graham Jones.
He was in Tulsa. He was in Tulsa at a library.
I know.
A few months ago, and I was thinking about going down there to go meet him, but I didn't do it.
Well, I got really upset because I found out after the fact that he was at a library signing books like an hour and a half away from me, and I was like, why am I finding about it after the fact? Why? Because I would have dropped everything and went.
Yeah, no. I do like Stephen Graham Jones though. The books I have read anyway.
It's fantastic.
I thought The Only Good Indians was
It's one of my top 5 favorite books of all time.
It went in some directions I wasn't expecting, and I thought it was a very welcome surprise. Let's say.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be because the setup it kind of sounded like oh it's like it just with Native American people.
It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. And it was just, I remember, because that was the first book I read.
No, I thought the ending was kind of.
It was fitting, I think.
She's just his daughter's kind of in the snow.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay. But aside from that, great book.
It was fantastic. It's probably top 5 favorite books of all time.
I liked Mongrels too.
Mongrels was really interesting, and the juxtaposition of the character growing up as a young boy to the werewolf side was very interesting.
Do you think he becomes a werewolf at the end?
Probably, even though he's constantly concerned about because he's not hitting certain milestones. And that I kind of love that he leaves a lot of his endings open-ended.
Oh, you'll
See,
probably like Paul Tremblay then.
I've heard that. What was the one that everybody recommended me to read? Paul Bearer's Club?
Oh, I haven't read that one. I've only read The Cabin at the End of the World.
I want to see the film, but I heard it wasn't that good.
I've given up on M. Night Shyamalan, be honest with you.
He's actually from my home state.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's from Philly, isn't he?
Yeah. He I accidentally walked on one of his sets.
He made two really good movies, and then after that, he just fucking went off. Though I
Yeah.
thought The Visit and Split were pretty good too. So,
Um I really liked Signs back in the day.
oh god.
Back in the day I liked Signs. But his movies I don't think work well on rewatch. Like it's one of those like the first time you watch it, it's fantastic, but then like rewatch you're just like, eh.
I always thought it was stupid that the aliens were their weakness is water. Like again, it's like I hate to say this, the nostalgia critics put it the best. Like, who thought it was a great idea to go to a planet mostly covered in water?
Right.
You know?
But Sixth Sense scared the crap out of me because I watched it at home by myself.
Yeah, that's one of his good ones. I also really like Unbreakable as well.
That was really interesting. I had to watch that for a film class when I was in college.
Yeah, I think it's a great film. It's underappreciated.
I also just really love Samuel L. Jackson, period. So, and Bruce Willis.
Did you ever watch Snakes on a Plane? I watched that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's stupid as hell, but I love it.
It was stupid, but I saw the appeal. It just wasn't for me.
Just Samuel L. Jackson fighting off a plane of snakes. It's what can I say?
There's so many films that he's so much better in, but I can always tell when he has more fun with it.
No, I would definitely say he's a lot better in something like Pulp Fiction, or
one of my father's favorites.
I like The Hateful Eight a lot because
still haven't watched it.
What else? He's been in a lot.
He's been in a ton.
America. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Anyway.
But I'm all over the place with reading. Like it's just like I've been reading
books.
Yeah, I've been reading more sci-fi and getting into literary fiction.
Well, you know, I'm gonna read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell soon.
I'm so excited.
I know. And
you have to message me.
I'm going to read Wistful Ascending soon. So, Joe, if you watch this, I'm going to do it.
I met him on a live stream that I did for Shelf Centered.
I love
Bryce.
Joe. He's good people.
And he seemed really nice. We only talked for a couple minutes, but he seemed very, very nice.
Yeah, he's what I call a friend of the channel.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get more into fantasy, but like I've been trying to read stuff that I've never read, like gaps in my reading, I guess.
So have you always been interested in the fantasy genre, or is it like something you've started recently? Because you know,
that's a fair question.
Because I can give you a couple recommendations if you want.
Yeah, I would appreciate ones that aren't like one of like 15 million in a series, because I feel like everything in fantasy is a series now. And it gets like, if there's like fantastic standalones, that'd be fantastic. Like,
well, let's see.
Everything's in a series. Not that I won't read the series, but it's like so much to take on.
Do you mind trilogies?
No.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard this from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I like The First Law a lot.
I tried. I like his writing. I didn't like The First Law. I tried.
Let's see. I think a very underappreciated fantasy world is Bazlag from China Mieville. And you were talking about yelling at people to go read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I go yell at people to
Is
go
that
read... Perdido Street Station.
Yeah, thank you. I can never get it out.
I yell at people to go read that one.
I heard it's very intimidating, though. That's why I'm just like, I don't know.
I would say
but I'll try it.
I'd say Embassy Town's more intimidating. It's stranger. But anyway.
I know that he's writing a book with Keanu Reeves, which I'm automatically going to read because Keanu Reeves and I love him.
That's such a weird pairing, but okay.
But it kind of works.
But all right. Let's see. I would say Liza Lockamore, but you were already kind of talking. I
want to try it. Maybe, like, I don't know. It's just okay.
It's just funny, you know.
the thing that bothers me with a lot of fantasy, and I don't mean to get on a pedestal, and I don't want to like demonetize this or anything.
It's not demonetized. I'm not even monetized. So
okay. So the thing that bothers me about a lot of fantasy is I have I don't make it that public, but I have a disability, and the use of the word cripple to describe someone in a lot of fantasies pisses me off to no end.
Well,
if I know what's in there, I'll explain. Like, I really, really enjoyed Spear Cuts Through Water.
Well, Alicia,
really
I hate to tell you this, but I hate to sound like that guy, but, you know, people back in the Middle Ages, kind of dickheads.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like, when it's said all the time, like, that was the one thing that dinged Spear Cuts Through Water for me, was that cripple over there, and I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, we get it. Stop it. Stop.
Wait, did you
we
like
get
Spear Cuts Through Water? Nah.
I did. I gave it a 4.5, but I dinged it because of the cripple line.
Okay,
constantly.
I was about to say, well, you know, Joe.
I loved it.
I was about to say Joe Abercrombie has a character.
Well, that's kind of why I bounced off of it, because of that character.
Who's very physically
Oh
non-abled.
yeah. He's kind of why I bounced off of it.
What?
I'm just like, dude, yeah.
Glocta's one of my favorite characters. He's my favorite character in the whole thing.
I can see why people like him. He's just not for me.
Fine.
I like out of what the characters that I got to before I bounced off of it.
If you want something that's
Logan was great. I loved Logan.
Well, if you want something that's really freaking wild that isn't Perdido Street Station, I thought Black Leopard, Red Wolf.
That's on my list because I love Marlon James.
Wait, have you already read Marlon James? I've only read Black Leopard, Red Wolf from him.
I am in the process of reading A Brief History of 7 Killings from him.
I might actually save that for next year because
it's really good so far. But do you like audiobooks? Question.
I don't mind them. I just get distracted really easily.
I would recommend, if you can, get the audiobook because it's in Jamaican patois.
Mm.
It's in Jamaican different Jamaican dialects.
Let me tell you right now, Black Leopard, Red Wolf, that was another just magical. That's a magical book.
And
it's very violent, and just let me tell you, I mean, you're reading A Brief History of 7 Killings, and I've heard that also has all the trigger warnings. But let me just say,
it's a lot. That's why I'm taking my time with it. It's a lot.
All the trigger warnings for Black Leopard, Red Wolf. It is.
I heard
unabashedly violent.
And I heard a lot of the sexual stuff is kind of hard.
And there's a lot of gayness in it. So if you, I mean, you know, and like that's fine, you know, like I want, well, you know.
Well, I know the sequel. I know the sequel is the same story, but from a different character's point of view.
Yep, I'm gonna read it this year. Moon Witch, Spider King. Looking forward to it. I'm really excited.
I think there's gonna be a third, or is it a duology?
There's a third one. Don't know when it's coming out. It's really making me sad. I hope it won't be like a Song of Ice and Fire and we have to wait forever, but probably not.
Yeah. There's so many books that I just want to know the ending.
Let's see. I read The Vor. That was a weird ass book.
Who's that by?
Brian Catling.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, if you want to, my taste sometimes goes into the really bizarre and obscure.
That's fine. I like some bizarre shit.
Oh, then you'll probably like. I mean, if you like, you know, Gaiman, then I think Mieville's very different. He's pulpier than Gaiman is, but
okay, that's not a bad thing.
Perdido Street Station is a fantastic book.
Is it a standalone, or is it connected to like the?
It is part of a cycle, but there's different stories in the same world.
Yeah. Like, I really like N.K. Jemisin. Like, she's one of my favorites.
I've been meaning to try the 5th season for a long
It's
time.
so good. It's so good.
Though I've heard some people go, it's good, or
Well,
it's bad, and then I've heard some people go like, man, it's great. You know, I don't. It's one
I
of those.
understand why people bounce off of it, but I enjoyed it.
Also, I don't know how I would cope with second person, so I guess we'll see.
It's not that bad.
I mean,
It'll throw you off a little bit at first, and then you get into the groove of it.
I mean, I did read Acceptance, so I guess it's not too bad.
That's Vandermeer, right?
Yep.
I have the first one in that.
Yep, right here.
Annihilation? Yeah. I haven't read it yet, but I do have
My buddy
it.
Jason gave the whole trilogy to me for my birthday, because I hadn't...
I didn't know what was a trilogy. I knew that there was the sequel, but I didn't know it was a trilogy.
Jeff Vandermeer is great. That's another one I would say go read, because he is...
And they're short, which is very appreciated.
So, he has done fantasy, I just haven't read it yet.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He has one I want to read called A Peculiar Peril, which is part of a duology, which I'm hoping to read. Don't know when I'm going to get to that, but it's a bit of a chunky boy, not unlike Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Well, that's the problem. Like, I have a list of books that I want to get to this year, and they're all like chunky, and I'm just like, why do I do this to myself?
I got a couple. Like, let me see.
Why do I do this to myself?
I'm gonna read Gormenghast, or I'm gonna read the first Gormenghast book this year.
I don't own it yet, but I want to because Evie's told me that I will love it.
let me hold on. Let me show all the pages. Let me get to there. That I'm gonna be reading that from this.
Because that's the only version that I can get. How big is the type in that one? Like, is it small font?
I mean,
okay,
it's a little small.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, if I need to, like, squint, which is probably what it's gonna end up being.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because I've heard it's really weird. Though
I want to try it.
Though it's one that the anti-Tolkienists like to jack off to, so I mean, I guess we'll see what the fuss is about. I'm sorry,
You're fine. You just caught me off guard for a second. That's okay.
I am not the most filtered person.
Hey, you're fine. I'm
which is why I'm also probably stuck with 300 subscribers.
You're fine. If you watch my channel, I'm not as filtered. Like, do I curse as much as I curse in real life? No, but does it come out? Yeah.
But this is the year where a lot of the fantasy books have been mustering the courage to read. I'm gonna do it this year. Like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell right over here.
So good.
Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can read The Erstwhile. I'm not gonna promise nothing, but
who's that by?
That's the second book because the Vor is a trilogy, so it's
okay.
The Vor, The Erstwhile, and then The Cloven by Brian Catling. I read The Vor, really dug it. Hopefully The Erstwhile will also be good. So yeah, also Moonwitch Spider King by Marlon James.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to read that for a while, and here we are. Let's see what
we're else? We're gonna have forever TBRs that we're never gonna fully get to. So.
Let's see what else. I am gonna see if I can try God, I can't ever pronounce
Verkosigan?
What?
Verkosigan?
I don't think
the saga.
So.
Okay.
Actually, I have it over here. Let's see. Veraconium by M. John Harrison. I'm thinking about trying.
Never heard of it. Never heard of that one.
Unlondon by China Mieville. I really want to try that. I like Mieville a lot when he's on form anyway, and
I will give it a try because I'm going to my used bookstore in like 2 weeks.
I also want to try more self-pub. So like the Ballad of. I hung out with A.R. Witham, and I've been wanting to read his book, The Legend of Blackjack.
You need to pick up the Drowned Kingdom. This is the third one, but you need to pick up A Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart.
Oh yeah, I've heard that's good.
It's so good. I have The first 45 minutes of the first discussion are non-spoiler if you want to check it out, of the first discussion. And then as we go on, because it's more and more in a trilogy or in a series, it gets more spoilery because you can't help but talk spoilers when it's book 3. You know?
Yeah, I hear you. It's that
It's
takes.
very hard
I'm
to be
actually about to
non-spoiler.
have a conversation with Philip Chase on Saturday about The Way of Edan. Which, speaking
Ooh,
of, I read The Way of Edan.
I have it in my bedroom. The whole trilogy's in my
Read
bedroom. I have
The Way of Edan, which was pretty damn good.
Okay.
I
I read
thought.
Lord of the Rings for the first time last year, so
Well, if you
I
like,
think I'm prepared.
if you like Lord of the Rings,
I did.
or if you like Beowulf,
I love
then
Beowulf.
you will dig it. There's some
Okay.
Beowulf references in there.
Yes. I love it when classic people put stuff out.
Apparently Dayraven is a reference to Beowulf, which that just
Uh-huh.
tells you how long it's been since I read Beowulf, because I don't remember that.
I want to read the newer translation by.
I've only read the Heaney version.
Me too. That's the only one I read, but I want to read the newest
Yeah,
translation.
I would like to read the Tolkien version, and I would also like to read the new one that just came out.
Thomas
It's like Stoppard or
Shippey?
something.
Shippey?
Shippey? Oh,
I think.
maybe Stoppard's someone else I'm thinking of.
Are you thinking of Thomas Stoppard? Because he's a playwright.
Possibly, I don't know.
He's a playwright who also wrote a lot of books.
I don't know. What else? Um, I like noir, so I'm hoping to read The Black Dahlia from James Ellroy. I've only read L.A. Confidential from him, which
Okay.
is a fantastic book.
I've only seen the film, and I
Film is
really
very
like the
good
film.
too. I will say, James Ellroy is an acquired taste because I'll put it plainly, he's kind of a madman.
Well, if you like noir, you should try.
Not in the same way that
Have you tried anything by Walter Mosley?
I have read Down the River Unto the Sea, which
Okay.
for some reason I just didn't care for.
Try Devil in a Blue Dress.
I did read that as well. That was my first one.
Oh, I love it.
Liked it a lot. I thought the ending was really weird, but aside from that, I thought it was great.
There's a short story collection that Walter Mosley is in. It's called The Black Noir, and it's really, really good.
I mean, he's not a madman in the same way that I am kind of a madman. He literally addresses his readers when he does press tours as panty sniffers, and
Oh.
yeah, he's a weird guy. Anyway,
Okay.
but
Segue.
like, if you like the movie, you would like the book. Except the book is a bit longer because he really goes into the history,
the nitty gritty.
Really goes into the history of the LAPD and all the really colorful, corrupt,
interesting, horrible
wacky
things that they did.
antics that they were up to back in the 50s.
Yeah. Let's see. Who else have I
And
read?
Don
that I
Winslow,
loved?
because I watch StoryTube and Yolanda's like, Don Winslow. So yeah,
I need to get into more crime. I don't read as much of it as I used to.
Dennis Lehane.
I've heard of the name.
My place to start. It's always tough because like you could kind of start anywhere with his books, but if you want to taste test A Drink Before the War, would be a good one.
Okay.
But you could start anywhere. Like you could pick up Mystic River and be like, oh, this is.
I've seen the film. I don't know if that's. I've seen the film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've heard good things.
Oh, Mystic River's great. Like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Let's see what else. I got S.A. Cosby. I'm actually hoping.
Razorblade Tears.
After I read Wistful Ascending, I am definitely thinking of reading My Darkest Prayer.
So good. And I have Blacktop Wasteland as well.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I also really liked Razorblade Tears.
Razorblade Tears made me cry. Ugly tears.
You know, I read that book, and I read something like, I don't know if you've read The Devil Takes You Home, but I thought that was a fucking terrible book. And then I read Razorblade Tears, and I'm like, that's how you fucking do it right there.
Is that the one with the green cover? Like it's
Yes,
got.
it has green on it. I don't own
I
it anymore. I gave it to a friend of mine
I
because
bounced off of it, and I really wanted to like it
let
because
me see. Let me find it.
where the dad's like the hitman.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, I bounced off of that one. I really wanted to like it.
I know. I did too. It really it sucked. It sucks.
I actually got it through Book of the Month.
Fucking I hate that book. I have no clue how it won a Shirley Jackson Award.
I also think that book was going back to bad marketing. I think that book was badly marketed. Yep, that's it. Hmm.
Yeah.
That book was badly marketed.
I hate that book. It oh. Anyway. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a marketing expert, but I despised that
It just
book.
bugs me because it's like the part that bugs me about the marketing part, and I'm gonna get into like stuff I used to do for work for a second, but like you set people up for the wrong expectations, and then they're not gonna like the book because they went in with the wrong expectations, and
Yeah,
that's what bothers me.
I just don't like when people filibuster their opinions in a
Hmm.
particularly non-subtle way. It's not interesting or compelling. Like take something like Perdido Street Station. I'd hardly call that a very subtle book with its political leanings, but at least I was deeply compelled by the world and
Okay.
the weird stuff that was going on. So, it's a great book. Devil Takes You Home. It's not a
I
great book.
wanted to like it so much because I love the premise of it.
I know. It's like this
The
seems like a
premise was
real.
great, and I was so
And
sad.
I'm like, drug cartels. They're like the scariest motherfuckers out there.
Yep.
Plenty of horror you could milk out of this concept. There's a scene
Yeah.
where one of the Mexican guys beats up a white racist dude, and I'm like, this book fucking sucks.
Oh,
Not that
jeez.
beating up racist people is not a cathartic experience, but it was so cringy. Just,
Gotcha.
you know, it's kind of, there's this line in True Detective. I don't know if you've ever seen True Detective.
Which season?
The first
Yes.
season.
Yep.
There's a line from Matthew McConaughey's character, Rustin Cole. He says, you know, I can figure out in about 10 minutes if the guy did it.
Yeah.
It's kind of with me in books. I can figure out pretty quickly if I'm gonna like it or not.
Yeah. I give it like 50 to 100 pages. I try to see if
And Devil Takes You Home, just from the very beginning, was just
Yeah. It wasn't it.
like, I know he's trying to go for the bereaved, broken guy, but like it kind of felt like he was an unhinged maniac.
Razorblade Tears is that perfect. Like Razorblade Tears just made me cry.
Now, Razorblade Tears was a great book. If you like
S.A.
that,
Cosby's fantastic.
if you like that, I would recommend Joe R. Lansdale, particularly the Hap and Leonard books. There's also a TV show that came out that was canceled, and I'm still pissed that they canceled it. 'Cause that was
Joe R.
fantastic.
Lansdale?
Joe R. Lansdale, yes.
Okay.
If you liked Razorblade Tears, Hap and Leonard, very funny,
Okay.
well written. Also with a duo of a white dude who is kind of an ex-hippie and a black gay Republican man.
Interesting.
It's
Okay.
great.
I will
Mucho
definitely
Mojo.
be checking that
I've
out.
only read 3 of them. Mucho Mojo particularly is just
Have you read anything by Joe Ide?
no.
Um
It's just
what was
straight butter,
yeah.
as the kids like to say.
Joe it's spelled Ide, but it said Ide. What is it called?
Oh, yeah, I've heard that name. Yeah, I've seen some of the covers. They look kind of airport thriller-y.
They're really good. Hold on, let me get the name of the first one. IDA. IQ is the first one, and it's fantastic. I'm on book 4 of that series, 4 or 5. It's about an LA private detective.
Oh, I'll have to
It's
check it out.
it's fantastic.
But Devil Takes You Home
Yeah.
wasn't it? Joe
That one made me
Lansdale.
sad.
Though I mean, if you can handle like hick stuff, like
Mhm.
you'll be fine. But if you like Razorblade Tears, I think you'll like Happen Leonard.
It just made me so sad. That whole story made me so sad.
The
And like in a realistic way. Like that happens a lot. Like
Yeah, that book is kind of Happen Leonard taken really seriously.
okay.
Happen Leonard is more. It's dark, but it's also really funny.
Which I think is important. That's why I like most of the books from Grady Hendrix.
I have the Southern Book
Book
Club's
clubs.
Guide to Slaying Vampires looking at me.
That's my favorite.
It's been staring holes into me for a while, but
And I also really like My Best Friend's Exorcism is really funny too.
you know what? You know how you said you're kind of a baby when it comes to, or well, I might be misquoting you there. I apologize, but
I know
you,
I am a baby when it comes to
when
watching
it comes
horror.
to horror
Yeah.
movies,
Mhm.
demon shit, I can't do. I've seen The Exorcist. It's a great film, but nope. Might be because I was raised a
Fair.
Christian, and they really drive into you that demons are scary.
Yeah.
But
The Exorcist still scares me to this day.
I don't like demons. I don't like demon shit. But I've heard My Best Friend's Exorcism's great. So
It's funny. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I've heard like when I've seen his books, they seem kind of like that, like real winky kind of, really like ironic kind of.
Honestly, my biggest like pro for him is he's a man who writes women like well. A lot of men don't write women well.
Yeah.
They write them very stereotypically or one note, and he writes them as complex humans as we are as a species. Um, and like, are all his characters lovable? No. But they're written like that on purpose to prove a point. But like,
Well,
I think you'll really like the Southern Book Club's Guide because it's
and I want to
parenting
see
in
an
the 90s.
actual well done vampire book. Cause I'm fucking tired of the Twilight bullshit.
I'm not a huge like. I tried Anne Rice. There's too much there's too much weird kid creepy stuff in there, and a lot of her books.
Yeah,
I
Anne
can't
Rice
do it.
is pretty freaky. I read Interview the Vampire a very long time ago, and
The Witching Hour is worse, and I will never get that burned out of my brain because it was bad. And if you want
don't
to,
wish for
yeah.
dementia, but
it was bad. It was traumatizing. And yeah, like I have a hard time finding a good vampire book, and I really want to find one.
I am hoping to read a book from Andy Davidson called let me look it up.
Andy Davidson.
I'm hoping to read it because in October. Now, while I am not against reading horror,
I read horror all year long.
While I do read horror when it's not Halloween, but when it is Halloween time, I fucking pig out on horror books.
It depends on who.
So
for me.
let me see what the
what's the last name? Andy
Davidson.
Okay.
So David and then son. Let's see, what's the book called? It's In the Valley of the Sun is what it's called. Apparently, it's a vampire book. Seems right up my alley. It seems to have that kind of
interesting cover.
Kind of Cormac McCarthy sort of border type of, dry vibe. So I'm like...
See, I bounced off of Cormac McCarthy because of the way he writes. It wasn't the story itself. I just can't read no punctuation. That drives me nuts.
I mean, that's totally fair. I'm not I don't blame people who bounce off of Cormac McCarthy, but, I love him. He's in my top 10.
Yeah. Like, I like what he tries to tackle. It's just, I I think I would do better if it was like an audiobook because I can't do the no punctuation physically reading it. That drives me nuts.
Yeah, I actually just finished one of his books, The Crossing, which is the second of his Border trilogy.
Okay.
A bit of a laborious read because he uses Spanish in his books, untranslated Spanish. So I had to translate a lot of that on Google
Yeah.
Translate, so that wasn't fun. But aside from that, I thought it was a pretty good book.
That's fair.
But yeah, In the Valley of the Sun. I hope to read that. I've heard that's a good
I
vampire.
like the cover.
Sorry, that wasn't you. That was for my cat.
No, you're fine. I figured it was for a pet.
We don't sexually harass people on this show.
Good.
Let's. Yeah, it's I'm staying with my aunt this week, and I don't know if she's listening right now, but she'll hear me. But she was telling me about how like people back in her day, and it kind of bugs me when people do this, but when she goes like, in my day people weren't so offended, and then I'll do like some of my like dark humor because I have a very dark sense of humor, and she's like, God, why is it so dark? And I'm like, I think it's kind of hilarious, but
Yeah.
there's a part of me that kind of likes getting a rise out of people, but it's.
And then there's a level where it's like you can go too far with it. Sometimes.
I know, like
not you specifically, but people in general can go too far with it.
Well, that's what people do. We go too far, and we love pushing the boundaries, and
Yep.
I mean, you saw J.K. Rowling the other day,
Yeah.
She literally on Twitter, I saw it. She's like, "Arrest me, bro! Fucking, I'm here." Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God. Ugh.
That's why I think some people should have their social medias taken away from them.
That said, really enjoy Harry Potter.
I read it when I was really young. I grew up with it.
I heard that
I try not to talk about it often.
Norrell,
yeah.
I've heard I've heard some people say it's pretty, or well, not pretty good, but I heard some people. I was actually talking with Andrew Meredith, and he was like, I think she was deeply affected by Harry Potter, and I was like, oh, okay.
I never thought of it that way, but I could see it. Absolutely.
Also, apparently her health isn't great. Like, she has this fatigue.
Susanna Clark, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's why we haven't gotten a book in a very, very long time.
Well, until Paranacy.
Yeah. It was like I think 11 years between.
Oh, I bet that must have been agonizing. Think about like George R. R. Martin. Susanna Clark's like, hold my beer.
But that's what always makes me wonder, because Goodreads has like Jonathan Strange too. But I read in an article that Jonathan Strange is just a standalone, so I don't know which one's
I've heard
truth.
She's thought about making a seat, and I heard she was working on it, but then she kind of got burned out.
There is a book of short stories that I recommend you read after reading Jonathan Strange.
I have heard of this. I have
The Ladies of Great to Do. It doesn't affect anything, like it doesn't change anything, but it adds more understanding to the world of Jonathan Strange. It's more backstory to what they talk about in Jonathan Strange.
Going back to my dark sense of humor, I kind of get annoyed. I don't know if this has happened to you, but I get annoyed when like older people talk about how it was in their day.
It depends on what they're talking about, yeah.
And let me tell you,
some of the
my aunt does it frequently. My aunt does it frequently.
Got it. Yeah.
Which is why I like No Country for Old Men so much from Cormac McCarthy, because it's basically Boeing like, fuck all of that, So I'm like, yes. I mean, it's a bleak book, but I feel satisfied that I'm not the only one who feels that way.
That's fair.
Where I'm like, it probably wasn't that great in your time.
Never read that one either. But I've heard interesting things.
But anyway. I'm getting hungry.
Go have some dinner.
But you know what? I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. I appreciate it. That was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I didn't really know how that was gonna go because we hadn't really met until
And
now.
we have some very different tastes in different books. But it works.
Though
We meet in the middle.
though, thank you for joining me, Alicia.
Absolutely.
Also, as I like to do before this is over,
Mhm.
is there social media that you would like to share?
Yes, I am
Be
on
shameless.
mainly on Instagram is mainly where you can find me. I am on Twitter / whatever it's called now. I don't check that as much. Um, but mainly you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Birdie and the Books. Um, and
Also,
go ahead.
where'd you come up with that name?
Birdie is a family nickname. Um, I was born premature, so my uncle said I look like a plucked bird, so everybody in my family calls me Birdie. Random story.
All right.
I was 3 pounds 1 ounce when I was born. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was tiny. Um, so it's kind of a play off of a family nickname and the fact that I was always the reader in my family. So Birdie in the Books.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other social media or
Let me think. What else? I have Goodreads and I have Storygraph. And Birdie in the Books on everything, so you'll be able to find me. And if you want to reach out to me in any way, I also have a email that's Birdie in the Books. Um, I've had people reach out to me through the email that don't have a lot of social media, so I created a separate email so you can contact me there as well as long as you feel comfortable.
all right. Well, wait, what are you doing? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this new episode of Britain's Hangout Hour. This was episode 69. But um until next time, and again, Alicia, thank you for joining me. This was
Thank you
great.
for having me. Have a good night.